Welcome back. This is lecture 23.1, where we're going to talk about phase transitions, but to do so, the first thing we're going to need to talk about is equilibrium conditions. Okay, so reminder, last time we talked about our squeezer example. We did our squeezer for mercury, then we did our squeezer for an ideal gas. We showed that the squeezer didn't work for an ideal gas because the internal energy or potential energy only depended on the temperature and not the volume. And then we did the squeezer for water, and what we realized was that water was weird. If we had water at 0 degrees, water was weird because it actually had a maximum in the density or a maximum in the volume at 4 degrees. And that was because beta, the coefficient of thermal expansion, crossed over from positive to negative right there at 4 degrees C. And we probably talked in class, hopefully, about how that was so unusual that it's probably responsible for life on Earth. Okay, so my definition of biophysics there. All right, so today we're gonna talk about phase transitions, and actually thinking about water at 0 degrees is a good example. So, you know, we experience phase transitions all the time in our life. We think about things like just with water, right? We're commonly exchanging between ice, liquid water, and water vapor, right? Look at me spelling it Canadian. You know, freezing ice happens all the time, but also, you know, there's often water coming off of a pond and going back into the atmosphere, recondensing into water, raining. You know, this is the whole water cycle. But also, you know, you can boil a pot of water and you can turn all of your water into water vapor. Okay, so these points, these phase transitions between water and ice and water and vapor, or any other materials, we experience in our daily lives, but they're actually really kind of wild things to think about, right? It's weird to think about having two phases of matter simultaneously in coexistence, okay? And so that's what we want to explore today. We want to explore mathematically, how do we understand phase transitions? How do we understand these equilibrium points, like 0 degrees C, where we can have water in both liquid form and solid form, okay? So the first thing we have to ask is then, like, you know, at those points, for example, like the freezing point of water, where these two phases are in equilibrium, how do we define mathematically that equilibrium condition, okay? All right, so that's what we're going to start with today for our phase transitions, understanding these equilibrium conditions. So remember that when we have any kind of process, so in any process, we know that the second law tells us that delta S is greater than equal to 0, right? So if we do some process, we know that the entropy has to increase. But interestingly, we know that delta S can be 0 for a reversible, isolated process. Okay, so I want to think about what delta S equals 0 means. All right, so imagine the following. So imagine I do so I have my entropy, right? And I'm in some state. I don't care what this axis is, temperature, pressure, or something. And I want to continue it to evolve. And I know that the entropy will increase, right? And the entropy will increase until the point where I get a maximum. And if I were to go, say, on the other side, I would only be able to go this way, right? So no matter what we do, we're always going to a point where the entropy is going to increase. And so this point has got to be quite special, where we have small deviations around this point, means it's reversible and isolated, and that the change in entropy is 0, right? That is to say that ds equals 0, or the entropy is a maximum, defines equilibrium for an isolated reversible process, or an isolated system. Okay? But let's imagine a non-isolated system. Let's imagine a system now that's not isolated, but that is in contact with some thermal reservoir. Okay? So this is my thermal reservoir. And it's going to be at some fixed temperature we're going to call T0. And here's going to be my system. All right, so the question is, what defines equilibrium? All right, well, to start, we're going to have to know what are the important or natural variables in the system, in this problem. Okay, so clearly here it's temperature, right? Now let's imagine doing this for a system where I'm going to fix Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make these rigid, adiabatic walls. Okay, so that means I'm going to be able to just think about my system and the thermal reservoir and not have to worry about anything else. I'm going to allow heat to transfer between them, and I'm also going to allow this thing to be, I'm going to make it fixed, okay? So this wall is going to be a rigid diathermal. My handwriting's bad today. Rigid diathermal wall. Okay, so if it's rigid, now the relevant second variable is clearly the volume, right? Because I'm going to be fixing the volume of this system. So it's the important variable. All right. So you may already be able to remember what the relevant parameter is, the relevant thermodynamic potential when the temperature and the volume are the natural units. So by the way, if you're following along in the book, we're moving into chapter, I think it's 11, nope, 9, for phase transitions. So phase transitions are going to be covered in chapter 9 of Fin. But we're also really doing a little bit of chapter 6 today, which is in particular that part around 6.4 and 6.4 and 6.5, okay? Around the free energy, the Helmholtz free energy, and the Gibbs free energy. All right. So now that we have this system, for example, like our pot of water, and we're going to put it outside and let it freeze, right? We're going to put our pot of water having a fixed volume in this situation. So now what happens? Well, we want to imagine the same condition now, right? So that the entropy in this process has to increase. But now we have two things to take into account. Both our system and the change of entropy of our reservoir, right? Remember, entropy is extrinsic, so we can just add these two entropies together. This is our second law being invoked. I'm saying that the entropy of the combined systems must increase. Or if they're completely isolated and reversible, it'll be 0. All right, now the reservoir is quite interesting because the reservoir isn't changing with temperature, right? We know that in general we write ds is the integral of ds is the integral of dq over t. And so for our reservoir, that's right, that's our reservoir. So the heat is going to flow out. So this we had minus q, the minus sign because it's flowing out, but we were at a fixed temperature, T0. So it's quite easy for us to do that integral, right? It was a constant T0, a constant temperature. Okay, so now we can take that reservoir and plug it in. There we get delta S minus Q over T0 is greater than or equal to 0. Or we can rewrite T delta S minus Q T0 is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, that feels quite natural, right? Because it sort of feels like TdS is equal to Q. Okay, now let's invoke our first law. So we can figure out what Q is here, right? So our first law is dQ plus dW. And remember, in this situation, I had the fixed volume, so that one goes to 0, and delta U is simply the heat flow, right? So let's take that and plug that in. We're going to get T0 delta S minus delta Q is greater than or equal to 0. I'm going to flip the sign so that I hit delta U minus T0 delta S is less than or equal to 0. And then I realize that actually delta U, that since the temperature is constant, I can just pull that into my integral, into my differential. And now I can do the same thing. This is delta of U minus T0S. So what is U minus TS? What's U minus TS? It's F, right? So this says that delta F is always less than or equal to 0. What that means is, just like the entropy in a process always has to go up, this says that in any process, any, let's say, spontaneous process will tend to decrease the Helmholtz free energy. So when temperature and volume are the important variables, the system will tend to minimize the free energy. Right? This is very common. This is how we would think about, say, gravitational potential. Right? The system is going to tend towards decreasing the relevant energy. Now, how far will you decrease it? Well, you're going to, again, just like here where you increased until the entropy was a maximum, now you're going to get to this point where you cannot decrease it any further. And so at that point, you're going to be defined as the change in entropy is 0, right? Or dF equals 0. That is, you will tend towards minimizing the free energy, and when the free energy is a minimum, right, that is F is a minimum. When the free energy is a minimum, then small changes dF will be 0. Okay? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to now take a quick break, and then we will revisit this when temperature and volume are no longer the relevant variables, but temperature and pressure. Okay? This is sort of the analog between when we had CV and C.P. Okay? So let's come back in 23.2 and do when temperature and pressure are relevant.